Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tori and today we are starting in my December daily album. So I want to do two things today. Hopefully I will be able to do them both successfully. I want to make a table of contents type situation, and I want to use this calendar that was in the Paisley Press mini kit this year for Ali Edwards. And just to kind of give you an idea, because I think this is going to look a little weird at first. Here's my album. So what I am wanting to do is have this glued right here to the front of my album. But I know that's gonna bother me if I left it like that. So what I was thinking is placing this patterned paper over the top of it and cutting it so that I will have kind of an envelope type situation. And hopefully that will work with the size of this paper. I'm not 100% sure, but we are going to try. If it doesn't, I'm probably just gonna need to buy the digital versions of these papers because I'll be really upset to lose this paper. Plus there's a couple pieces in the add-ons, like 10x8 papers that I really love, and I think I might want to use more than once, so I might end up buying that anyways, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm wanting to create kind of an envelope type situation, and then on the inside of the paper I'm going to place just this piece of paper from last year. It's just got dotted lines and they're green, so it will match this paper pretty well. So that's my plan, is to have this open up and then you will see a table of contents. And then I'm also going to do, which has been being done quite a bit so far this year, so it's not going to be anything too particularly new, but I'm going to make a shaker page for my cover page. And what I decided to do was use this transparency here that says December Joys all the way around and around a wreath. And then I'm going to fill the shaker with these pretty pink posh shaker beads. And then I also have these that I purchased from Michael's, the Recollections Specialty Glitter. They're just little orbs. And I think they're about the same size, but just to kind of lighten up this mix just a little bit, I will add some of these in there too. And then I will sew around the edge of here, probably in white to hold that shut. And then I was thinking of making some sort of pocket situation to put on the back of here to place my reason why. So when you flip it, it'll be my reason why. And then I was going to do kind of like a family page on this side. So that'll be like my first full 2 pages before we jump fully into December stories. So I don't think I'm going to talk while I'm working, especially since mentally I've got to figure some things out. So if I don't come back and talk anymore, I will give it over to voiceover me.
The first thing that I decide to do here is just pull out a piece of just regular printer paper, and I wanted to try and make my envelope out of just scrap paper before actually cutting into my patterned paper. So the back of my little scoreboard has like an envelope thing, so I thought I might use that to see if that would work for making my primary envelope flap. It ends up not working. It ends up being a little bit too small for my liking, and there's a lot of open space. So what I will ultimately decide to do is just cut into my pattern paper, and then I'm going to kind of mark on my top flap where the side needs to come down to not have any empty space. And you'll see this here in a moment because I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well. But I cut down the pattern paper to be 4.5 inches for my bottom flap. And then I'm going to place that on top of my calendar and then mark on my second piece of paper where that empty space starts with a pencil. And then what I will do is, once I've got both sides marked, I'm going to mark 4¼ inches. So I have the middle of the page about as far down as I want my kind of flap to go. And then just draw a line from one mark to the other mark so that I've got that nice envelope look. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I will just use my trimmer to cut those lines so that they're nice and straight, since I have sketched them out. Now, when I did this, since I kind of like freeform set this on my calendar, I guess I had a little bit of variance. I'm not really sure what to call it, but I have the tiniest little gap on the left-hand side of my envelope. So I'm going to end up pulling a little tiny heart from the Tracy Redesigns printable stickers that are being released in about next Friday, I think. So the 23rd or the 24th. When is next Friday? The 24th is when this is going to be released. And she's got like these teeny tiny little hearts in those particular printable stickers. So I'm going to use one of those to kind of fix my mistake here. I then am using just my scrap pattern or scrap printer paper to make my flip ups. So I am doing this a little bit differently than I usually do. I will obviously tuck the paper in between my actual papers that I'm using, but what I end up doing is using some masking tape to adhere it to the back of my calendar so that I can make sure that everything is folding the way that I want it to and laying the way that I want it to before I adhere it down. And surprisingly, this worked out really, really well for me. I almost wasn't expecting it to work out at all because I think the last time I used just this regular printer paper, I ended up having issues with it. And I think it's because this printer paper is very, very thin. It's actually recycled printer paper. So it like warps kind of, but that's besides the point. So since I kind of washi or used my masking tape to hold it down, after I did my folding, I was able to make sure that it wasn't warped or weird at all. And then I just kind of lifted up a portion of it, stuck a little bit of tape down, and then used some double-sided score tape to finish adhering the flip to the back of each of my top and my bottom. So you'll see here, I'm just kind of testing it to make sure everything is folding the way that I want it to. And then I'm going to use my roller adhesive to kind of stick these together. And you'll see that I didn't have it open when I first started. So I was trying to tape with my closed roller adhesive. That made me laugh, but you obviously can't hear that because I have that muted. So then I have still a little bit of space that needs to be glued down. So this is where I'm going to pull out my score tape and then just kind of tape that down. So that'll add that will be, an adhesive to keep it down, but then also adhere it to the back of my album. And then I'm going to use this sticky thumb red line tape a little bit later on. And I will say that I had 0 issues getting this liner, this red liner, off of this tape. My mind was blown because I always have the hardest time getting the stinking liner off of these tapes. It's so frustrating, but I had no issues with this liner. So back to what I'm actually doing though. I am using the McKinsey ink from Ali Edwards, and I'm just going to add a little bit of ink edging around my envelope. I'm going to use this color for my actual cover page, so I felt like it would be really nice to have this on my envelope as well to add a little bit of variation so that you can actually see the envelope like flap, since I used the same pattern paper for the top and the bottom. I think it kind of breaks up so you can actually see that it's an envelope, And then it will also have a little bit of cohesiveness with my cover page that I will do once I get this portion completed. And then there's that little heart that I mentioned that I just kind of stuck over that empty piece, and I just added a little bit of ink blending to that as well, so you cannot see that little missing part. It's very small, so I probably didn't even need to cover it up, but I noticed it and I knew it would bother me, so I just added a little heart to cover it. So I've taken the liner off of my score tape, and now I'm going to add that red liner, that red line tape to the back. As per usual, I probably put way too much tape on this. I am sure as I'm watching myself do this that I probably didn't need to put this much tape. But I always do the most when it comes to the tape. I don't know what about me makes me feel like I need more tape, but I always put so much. And then I'm using my bone folder to kind of just rub that tape down. Because I feel like if it's kind of pushed into the paper, it's easier to get liners off. And just look how easy of a time I'm having with this. Oh, I can't even, y'all. Like, my mind is blown. And then so now that I've got all of that done, I'm just going to go ahead and plop this right into the cover of my album. It's a little bit crooked, but since I used red line tape, once it was down, I had no choice but to just leave it because I was not pulling that back up. I know I would have ripped the whole album. And then I'm pulling up my little Velcro dots, and I'm going to use that to hold my little envelope shut. Now, I will come back to this at the very end and add a little tab, but that will be at, I think, the last thing that I do in this video when I'm going to pull that open, and I'm like, this might be easier to open if I have a tab. So moving on, I am going to do my cover page. I pulled out my adhesive remover, my little like adhesive remover when I need to get stuff off. And I ran that across my actual transparency paper. I did this by accident in my October daily. I was trying to erase like some adhesive that I had pulled up and found that when I used my adhesive eraser, it pulled up that piece of plastic that is over transparencies usually. And I was just like, what? I didn't know this was a thing, and it made it so much easier to take that off. So I figured I would just kind of test and see if there was any like film on it, and it didn't look like there was. So anyways, I am adding a piece of trim to the side of my cover page because this transparency is like, I think, 1/4 of an inch smaller than 7 inches or something like that. And then I used my fill to fill in this little cover page with my shaker, and let me just tell you the sound that this shaker page makes is just so pleasing. And like, as you saw me on the video, I played with it for a minute because I was just so happy with it. Let me actually go get it and see if I can put it on this voice recording. 1 second. Okay, let's see if we can have like a little ASMR moment or something like that. I cannot deal. I love it so much. And as you saw in the video, I was just all about listening to it over and over again. So anyways, I am using my Mini Misty and the alphas and numbers that I purchased from Close to My Heart to do my 2023 for my title page. And since I probably didn't need to use my Mini Misty, but I wanted the actual numbers to be filled in pretty solidly, so that's why I decided to do it that way, so that I could stamp multiple times. And I really like the way that it came out. One thing I also like to do with the Mini Misty is, even if the stamp impression is pretty decent the first time, you can also add like extra ink around the edges and make those a little bit darker. So I don't know, I like the way that it came out. And then I'm going to pull out my little tiny die cut machine and then just get these numbers cut out, so that I can get them kind of adhered and laid out on my cover page. Let me know down in the comments below if December Daily is something that you will be working on this year. I know I've got quite a few regular viewers that have already let me know that, and I'm so excited for y'all. But if you have not commented before, let me know if this is a project that you work on or if you just like to watch the videos. I know, like, for me, a lot of people do Thankful 30 in November, but that's just too much for me. 3 month-long projects back to back, because I do October Daily and December Daily, would be way too much. So I watch those videos all through the month of November, but I definitely don't do that project. So are you one of those people for December Daily, or do you actually work on December Daily? Let me know down below. So I'm just getting my last number die cut out now, and then I will kind of go about laying these in a method that I think I will like the most. I didn't want to have 2023 like horizontally. I wanted it to be like 2-0 at the top and 2-3 at the bottom, kind of laid out like that. I felt like it would fit a lot better inside that wreath. So I'm going to mess with these a little bit and then actually glue the 2 and the 3 together, but then rip it up because I didn't really like the way that it was laying out. I didn't want it to be so like diagonal. I wanted it to be more like side by side, not like a diagonal. I don't even know if that's making sense, but I ripped that up, and then I'm actually going to use my adhesive eraser to take off some of the glue that I already put on there. It will take off some of the paper and ink, but I'm going to just cover that right back up with my 3 and then get those adhered together. And then to adhere this to my page, I am going to use that score tape that I used a little bit earlier. I'm going to place that all over the back of all 4 of these numbers and then just lay that right down on my page. You can't see any of the adhesive through the back, but even if you could, it wouldn't be an issue for me because I am going to be using, I believe, the stitched pocket circles from the hobby kit from Ellie Edwards. I'm going to put that on the back of this that's going to surround the wreath. So you wouldn't be able to see any adhesive on the back, so I wasn't really worried about that, but you can't see it anyways. And once again, I'm probably just putting way too much adhesive. I don't know, I already said this, but I don't know what it is with me and adhesive. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and kind of burnish that down a little bit, and then I'm going to use this little crafting pick to help me get some of the liner off of that. I have been trying this more than just using my fingernails, and I think that is super helpful as well, using a little craft pick instead of trying to peel it up with my nails, especially when I cut my nails and they're very short. So super helpful tip right there too that I saw from another YouTuber. I just don't remember who it was. And that's me shaking my page again because I just love the way it sounds. And then I think I'm done. I think I'm done with this page. I was just showing you that instead of just adding a stitched line around the holes, I also added it, I kind of did like a rectangle around the holes, and I think that looks way more pleasing than just like having a line to the right of the holes. So I'm getting my little tag added there, and then that's it. I am done with my contents page and my cover page. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you in the next one, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.